here because I know that everybody's sort of gearing up for the next academic year and all that kind of stuff, and people are looking at universities, or you've applied to universities, or a lot of you guys out there have kind of questions and stuff like that. So I'm popping on here to sort of I guess clarify what's happening and how it's all working, and maybe I suppose, yeah, let's just put it this way. I've read a couple of articles, and I kind of get where you're coming from in terms of going to university. It's a big, huge decision, and you're not entirely sure how it's all going to work, right? Well, to be honest, um, I have been thinking a lot about this and doing some planning and stuff. I've actually been prototyping stuff in 3D and taking a look at the labs and stuff like that. I came that close to running a Houdini simulation using some sort of, something like Massive or some sort of crowd sim to test out traffic flow and coronavirus spread patterns and all that kind of stuff. I might just do it because I'm that kind of a guy. But yeah, I just thought I'd come on here and let you know where we're going to go with this, especially from the animation standpoint. So one of the things that you guys are probably reassured to know, it's kind of a funny anecdote. Before COVID-19, a lot of us animators and game designers and concept artists and things like that were sat in front of our computer. After COVID-19, we're still sat in front of our computer. So basically, a lot of the sort of the training will be happening online. You've been hearing that from all the other academic institutions. I'm sort of here to tell you about the structure of it. Now, I got to warn you guys, it's going to get a little bit more technical, but don't worry, I'm here to walk you through it. So one of the things that happens during induction week, I'll give 3 separate workshops. They're about an hour apiece, walking you through the underlying technology and the infrastructure that you guys have to get used to. But it's not like your typical university. It's not like here's how you use Zoom, here's how you use Teams. We're not about to enter a business that involves wearing a suit and tie or business casual or that kind of thing. So we're about to enter into games and animation. So in that regard, one of the things that I took the opportunity to do was to set up a workflow that's really, really similar to my experiences at Electronic Arts or at LucasArts as well, right? So basically, we will be using F-Track to log a lot of our assignments and things like that. Now, with the lecture materials and the little back and forth discussions that we have, that will likely take place in Discord, right? So I've got set a couple of Discord servers for that. Because let's face it, guys, Discord is awesome. It just knocks the socks off of your Skypes and your Zooms and your Teams. And it's still not in the mainstream yet, which I think is great. So it's kind of like our own underground subculture, which is really, really cool. A lot of the lecture material will be captured on Twitch. So that sort of stuff will stay on the stream for up to 8 days, depending on the content of the lecture. And then I can create a highlight reel from that afterwards so that you guys can refer to it as well. In addition to that, we'll be doing a lot of sort of asset transfer back and forth using a piece of software called Perforce, right? So here's what your day would look like. A typical day in university. You'd wake up in the morning, you'd log on to your machine, log on to F-Track. There'll be a review system. So inside of F-Track, you'll get feedback, direct one-to-one feedback back from me, as well as you can open up a live session of feedback. So basically what will happen is I'll be drawing on the screen and you can be drawing on the screen, and we can simultaneously see 2 cursors operating at the same time. In addition to that will be your task lists and your schedule, and it's all kind of controlled in F-Track. Now, the cool thing that I'm trying to set up over the summer, which will be operational by September, it's not going to take me that long to figure out, is that once you check your assets into F-Track, so you can just drag and drop, say you work on a really cool digital model, you just grab that digital model file, drag and drop it into F-Track, and boom, it uploads to the Perforce server at the uni, right? And I sync to the Perforce server at the uni, and bam, right there, right in front of me. So I can interact with it, I can take a look at it, and that sort of a thing, right? So that's, in a nutshell, the offline experience. What kind of software do we learn? Well, there's the bog standard palette of various different software, right? So there's Maya. Maya's our principal 3D asset authoring software, right? So there's that, and then we also teach Houdini, which I'm doing right now, actually. I'm making an alien blow up for a director buddy of mine in London. and it's awesome. A lot of the flip fluids and that sort of thing are really, really fun to work with. There's a lot of experimentation involved and stuff like that, but you can get in there and work on actual transmission values and index of refraction to get the correct sort of light happening here, subsurface scattering to kind of talk about how light particles disperse inside so you can get that deep if you want, or you can just do what I like to do in the beginning is, what happens if I move this slider? And so there's a little bit of that. That's the one thing I love about 3D, because you get the opportunity to be a kid and do visuals at a kid level, but you also have the opportunity to get as in-depth as you want, right? For me, it's this wonderful marriage between left and right brain. I get to be a computer scientist and I get to be an artist simultaneously. So yeah, Maya and Houdini are underpinning. So for compositing, I know a lot of you guys out there are Premiere After Effects fans, and that's cool because I was Premiere After Effects for years and years and years and years. In fact, I did a lot of Greenlight videos and previs pieces using the Adobe Dynamic Link library system. So that's cool. We teach a little bit of that, but I try to transition you guys to Nuke. Nuke is our compositor of choice. For those of you guys who don't know, it's a node-based compositor. Don't freak out. It's fairly straightforward, and it is the de facto standard in television film production. So I will walk you through that. For those of you who don't know anything about compositing, don't worry about that. If you've used Adobe Photoshop at any point in your life, you'll be okay with compositing, right? So there's that. Now, in terms of the university experience, obviously we're going to be designing an experience with smaller cohorts and things like that to bring you into the labs. But that is actually really conducive to the way we work anyway, because we have a variety of different... Hey, I gotta pay attention to my chat, man. Yeah, nodes are fun. Node-based compositing is a lot more powerful just in its versatility and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I get into all of that, layer-based versus node-based. Layer-based is easier to wrap your head around in the beginning, you know, and I understand that. But there's a certain amount of, once you start playing with nodes, you're just like, holy cow, I can do this? Wow, that's amazing. Node-based materials are just as fun. Yeah, definitely. Hey, I was doing some CG relighting actually inside of Nuke, and I've only touched that on the surface. But man, once you get into it, it's so super fun. I love the fact that once you render out of a Houdini or a Maya, if you remember to do a normal pass and a point pass, don't worry, I'll explain what those are, and get that into Nuke, you can relight it again inside of Nuke. It's really, really cool. So yeah, that's the kind of the software underpinning that we teach. But check this out, guys. I'm really trying to push for Blender. And it's not, you know what, it's not a cost-saving thing, right? A lot of people go, oh yeah, you know, university studios are getting Blender because it's open source, it's free and all that kind of stuff. Not about that at all. To kind of give you an understanding, Blender was one of those packages. Actually, we did try at Electronic Arts because we evaluate everything, right? So we gave Blender a good go. It was just really buggy and unstable at the time, and it drove me mental, right? Because one of the ways we test software at Electronic Arts is we throw everything at it, right? So yeah, at the time, it wasn't very stable. But I'll tell you, there are two things that have happened in the last year that have sold me on it. One of the guys that I'm teaching right now, he's our resident Blender guru. He showed me the cloth deformation brush. Now check this out, guys. So there's me and there's Sean Varney, who's a VFX producer on his Dark Materials. And him and I are standing over the monitor going, how the hell are they doing that? Right? And we talked about, you know, per point sampling, you know, sort of the vertex-based calculations that are real-time being streamed and converted into screen space and pixel-based calculations and things. But we're just like, wow. Even if they were utilizing, you know, the GPU quite heavily and doing this, you know, world space to screen space, rapid calculation, whatever they're doing, even still, it's running smooth and silky, and that's amazing. So that was the beginning. I was like, oh, Blender, okay, let me take a look at that. But then the grease pencil tool came out. Holy crap, guys! Give you a little bit of background. I'm going on a massive tangent. This was supposed to be me singing for my supper and saying, come apply to the university, but I'm getting distracted here. But the grease pencil is awesome. It is so awesome, guys. It is the one thing I used to run around EA screaming for. way back in the day, I'd be with the technical director and the tech art team and going, I want to be able to draw on my model. And they'd be like, what, Al, you're crazy. Go take your loony stuff somewhere else. And then Blender 2.83. And I was like, what manner of sorcery is this? So it's cool. It's cool. I'm having so much fun with it. It's actually competing with ZBrush for my attention at the moment. So yeah, that's another piece of software that I'm going to try to incorporate this year is Blender. So one of the things that I try to teach is software agnosticism, right? So it's not really about the software. Trust me, guys, when we're reviewing demo reels and show reels in the studio, we are not looking for what software you use. We're looking to be blown away by your visuals, right? So I try to teach a little bit of that software agnosticism. And of course, ZBrush. ZBrush is my primary sculpting tool. So my background from concept art to previs art to being an art lead, I have always used the combination of Photoshop and ZBrush for all my concepting, right? So that's something that I'll talk about quite heavily as well. And if you want a sample of some of the artwork that I have, you can check out further on down the stream. I'm working on this concept sketch of my interpretation of Phoenix, and it's turning out okay. So you can see the kind of art style that I tend to teach, right? So, wow, massively huge tangent. I think that covered most of the primary software. I do additional lectures on the side for things like Marvelous Designer, which is so super fun to use. I love doing class sims in Marvelous Designer. Now that's a thing too where I look at it and go, how is Marvelous Designer simulating so fast? And the only thing that I can think of is all the other standard packages that do sort of class simulation probably have what we call code bloat, right? So there's lots of stuff going on, whereas Marvelous Designer is just dedicated to class simulation. So we hit on that a little bit. What else? Yeah, quite a few different things, right? So that's kind of the look at sort of the software we cover in a nutshell. I got a comment here. The 2D came out with 2.8, not just 2.83. Yeah, 2.9. I'm looking forward to that. The alpha got released, but I'm not entirely sure what the new features are. So I'm going to take a look at that. They do have primitive creation that 3ds Max does. So you can basically, if you want to create a cube, you can just draw a square on the ground and then raise the cube up and all this kind of stuff. 3ds Max is a software that I use quite heavily in production as well. And I love the way they used to create primitives because I could block out an entire city within like half an hour, right? So, man, you guys got me on a tangent. I was totally just coming on here to sing for my supper and put this up and go, yeah, this is some info about the uni. Now, the reason why I'm popping this up as well is because, and I'll leave this up here like this, is that, I've got like, a dozen students now, and I've got enough room to take on a few more. So you guys are more than welcome to apply. I know that if we take a look at, let's see. So if we take a look at the university's standard web page, where do I have it? How to apply, right? We've got sort of these dates here. Last application date, or enrollment week on the 21st of September, right? And then we've got July 24th as the last application date for overseas. We've extended all of that, right? Obviously, because coronavirus is making us think on our feet a little bit, we are totally open to kind of reviewing new applicants and things like that. And really, to be honest, guys, I'll tell you what my university interviews go like, right? Just so you don't freak out and get all nervous about it. I know that in a lot of other university entry interviews, you might be in front of a panel of 3 sort of stuffed shirts glaring at you like X Factor judges. It's not really about that for me, because for me, it's about understanding whether or not it's the right fit for you, because sometimes you don't really know. You think you might know what you want to do as a career, but it's good to kind of bounce it off somebody like me, right? So I've met a couple of people who are like, oh, I just want to be a character modeler. And then I look at their reel and I'm like, really? You got a lot of wicked animation here. Are you sure you don't want to be an animator? Or I'll look at something and go, wow, you got some amazing lighting. Did you know that that's actually a department? And people will go, no, I can just do lighting? I'm like, yeah, you can just do lighting. So it's that kind of an interview. And you guys are welcome to buzz me on, we can set up Discord. We can do it through Zoom if you want, the official university channels, and we can have a chat about it. Any questions you have at all, I'm more than willing to answer for you guys, right? So, yeah, let's see. What else was there about the spiel? I know, really, I wanted to come and target a lot of the concerns that you guys have and questions about how things are going to operate. So, physically being on the campus is also really an important part of the experience, right? Because you want to go and hang out. The labs we got set up are really, really cool. Well, there is a situation where we're going to have to bring you guys into the lab once a week because we have Sony PlayStation 4 development kits and hopefully PlayStation 5 development kits. And those, due to some strict sort of regulations from Sony themselves, cannot leave the labs. They're actually in a lockbox and they can't be seen and they can't be photographed, which is weird. We might not actually have PS4 dev kits. We could be just pulling the wool over your eyes. But no, honestly, they are PS4 dev kits. They've got huge security restrictions on what we can do with those dev kits. So we have to be in the lab to make that work. The other thing that I'm setting up as well is a multi-user platform inside of Unreal. So we can actually develop as a team in a single Unreal project. And that requires sort of lab participation. Now, the cool thing about it is we already kind of do that on the program. We generally tend to group up in teams of as small as 2 to upwards of 6, right? So you and your mates can get together, or if you make some new friends, which you're bound to do, you know, because everybody's pretty relaxed in animation and games. You can join a team and we can put some game ideas together, hash out a lot of in the beginning, a lot of the visual stuff, and then we get into a little bit more of the technical stuff further on down the line. And speaking of nodes, we cover Unreal Engine's whole blueprint system as well, right? So once you get your head around code logic, it's not that bad. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is if you find yourself really enjoying the node-based stuff inside of Nuke and the node-based stuff inside of Unreal Engine's blueprint system, you'll find the transition to Python code or C++ not easy, but not too bad because you'll understand the logic behind stuff. So I'm sort of digressing now. But yeah, feel free to give us a call for some information. Isn't Unreal making steps to help make a pipeline with Blender to directly import animations from a Blender file? Yes, they are. And if it's not ready, I will make one. Don't worry about that. The one big thing for me is connecting software in a pipeline. I used to do it professionally, right? So think about bridging utilities you see in most software. I don't know if you guys have used things like Maya and ZBrush, but ZBrush has GoZ. So when you hit the GoZ button, your ZBrush model pops up in Maya, and then you can send it from Maya back to ZBrush and it just pops up. I'm very, very much a fan of that kind of workflow. I would love to be able to have you guys open the Blender UI and have just a little Unreal button on the top that you click, and boom, your whole scene just migrates over into Unreal and pops up, right? So that's a plan. It's I can see in my head how I'd write the Python code for it. So it's fairly straightforward. But I have heard rumors that Unreal is going to support Blender in terms of their FBX pipeline. So we'll see. We'll see how good that is. One of the things that I really kind of enjoy about Blender is, Blender is a little bit punk rock. It's the punk rock of all the CG software out there. And it's shaking things up a little bit, which I really think is cool. So, we're definitely going to try to incorporate a little bit of Blender learning. Now, I will start to draw correlations between Blender and Maya. Now that I've got a clearer understanding of how Blender thinks, the comparisons to Maya will be relatively simple. So don't worry. It's not like you have to learn a whole brand new piece of software and you jump into Maya. There are a lot of similarities, more so than differences. In fact, my experience working with XSI, 3D Studio Max, a little bit of Cinema 4D and Maya. I've worked with every major piece of software. I probably spent the majority of my career inside of XSI and Maya. But I can tell you, the transition from your first piece of CG software to your second is really, 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 really hard. The transition from your second to your third, weeks, right? Because you start to understand how 3D programs work. I mean, they all work the same way. They all have global illumination. They've all got ambient occlusion passes. They've all got, they've all got similar stuff. They all have, ambient shaders, or bidirectional subsurface distribution, reflectance distribution function shaders, subsurface shaders, all that kind of stuff. It's all across the board. So what one piece of software can do, you can bet another piece of software will replicate. What has amazed me is that Blender has started incorporating flip solvers, I believe. So they're giving Houdini a bit of a run for their money. So that'll be interesting. We'll have loads of talks about the various different features and the various different pieces of software. I'm looking forward to that. I have gone on a lot longer than I thought I was going to. And I've got a meeting at 10 o'clock that I got to prepare for. But yeah, I thought I'd pop on and say, don't worry about it. I know COVID-19 has rocked everybody's world, and it's really, really sort of strange in terms of the new normal, but I've got it all planned out in terms of what we're going to be doing online and what we're going to be doing in the labs. And if you have any questions about that at all or any doubts, you can just ping me on my chat here, or just shoot me an email, and we'll arrange a little chat and I'll walk you guys through it. So yeah, if you're looking for a career in animation and games, the info's right there, right? So yeah, feel free to use it. There's no commitment to. I mean, you can just ping me an email and say, dude, are you going to do a Twitch stream on this or that? And and I'll be like, yeah, sure, I can do that, right? So it doesn't have to be university specific. But as well, it doesn't have to be program specific. I hate the fact that most universities are silos and things like that. I'm not like that at all. So if you ping me or give me a call or whatnot and you say, you know what, I don't know if I should be in the concept art or illustration. Should I join the illustration course? Obviously I want you on my course, but I'll take a look at your portfolio and try to direct you in the direction that best suits you, right? So I'm open for that as well. Okay, that's cool. The blend file type is very interesting. I don't know how different it is from a Maya file. You know what? Actually, oh my God, you're totally distracting me. The blend file is so small. The footprint of it is small. I don't know how they do it. So whatever compression algorithm they're using, I'm blown away by it. Generally, we use the Maya binary Maya ASCII file. So most file types come in two forms. They're either binary or ASCII, right? So ASCII is the text file that a computer programmer puts in. It's sort of big and unwieldy. It's all the code, right? And then the binary file is sort of a precompiled version of that, right? So it's usually smaller, either that or it's compressed or that kind of a thing. But the Blender file size, wow, it's really small. So I'm going to take a look at that file type. I'm very curious to see how they've done it. So this is rapidly turning into a Blender stream when it was supposed to be, come call me, come join my animation program stream. So I will leave it at that. Thanks a lot for tuning in. It acts like a tiny folder. That's good. That's really, really good. So there are a couple of different file types you might want to investigate. There's one called the USC, Universal Sequence. Oh my God, it's escaping me. It's Pixar's format. It's very much like an FBX file format, except better organized. So it sounds very similar, like a blend file. This is going to bug me. USP? Is it? No. It's rapidly going to be the new file format. I believe it's going to take over from FBX. Not initially, but Pixar file format, UST, was it? USD, that's it. Yeah, USD, right? So the USD file format sounds very much like that, because the USD file format organizes a hierarchy inside the file format, and you can query the file format and you can pull the information that you want out of it, right? So it's basically like a parsable file, if you don't know what parsable means. Parsing a file format means diving into the file and actually reading the code line by line, right? So in the USD file, let's say you've got, let's talk about it. Let's say you've got this USD file and you're just like, oh, dude, I just want to work on the eye for the bird. So say you want to do the shader development or the texture development for just that eye. You can open up that USD, query it, and just pull that eye and load that into your software and work on it, right? So I love organized file formats because it just aids you as an artist. That's it, universal scene description. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So that is something that the universal scene description And the Asus color gamut are two things that I need to heavily invest in over the summer to get working in our pipeline. So we're a little bit behind the studios for that, but working with Universal Scene Description and working with the Asus color space will be the normal way we work from now on, right? So it guarantees that we have, you know what? I'm not going to get into it because the whole Asus color space is a huge, huge topic in and of itself. Oh, are they getting USD in the Blender? You're just making me fall in love with Blender more and more, man. So yeah, if you've stuck with this video this long, thank you. It was supposed to be a trumped up advert and it just became this runaway talk about Blender. I am Project Atlas. Thanks for those questions. I had fun answering those. I seriously have to go though. I really have to go. I'm late for this meeting. Okay, thanks a lot guys, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot. I'm Project Atlas.